So today we're going to be taking a look at a new bill that has been introduced in the Texas Senate called the Save Chick-Fil-A bill. Now, I saw this and I kind of thought it was going to be a parody. I didn't think this was real. I never imagined that anyone would ever name a law or a proposed law or bill to be the Save Chick-Fil-A bill. But this is a real thing going on. And this video is going to be covering a pretty controversial topic. I mean, let's be honest here. But we're still going to be talking about it because it's honestly more healthy than not to have these kinds of dialogue. I understand there's people on both sides of the fence who are subscribed to my channel. I really don't care. You know, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about here on the channel. And I'm going to say, you know, pretty much whatever I really want to say about the whole thing here on the channel. I think you guys know that I kind of have that track record already going on, but to give you guys kind of a little bit of backstory here, this is basically the same bill that was already brought up before. They had already kind of brought this in before, I think, in the House, and apparently it kind of just died off there. It didn't get voted through or anything, but the Texas Senate revived it, okay? And they're moving forward with it, okay? They had a public hearing last week apparently is when they killed this proposal in the House. And what this bill basically does is it bans the government in Texas from taking any adverse action, quote unquote, on individuals or businesses based on their religious beliefs. The bill, as filed, quote unquote, ensures religious beliefs are protected from discrimination. It's about the First Amendment and freedom of speech, freedom of religion, those uniquely American rights. Apparently, this vote could come on this bill as early as tomorrow, okay? So this bill is definitely here. It's going to be voted on very soon. It's getting news coverage. And honestly, it looks like the Texas Senate is honestly kind of hell-bent on getting this one through, or at least those who are in support of it. So we'll see how that whole thing works out. That's the backstory behind the bill, what it is, what it supposedly is going to do and everything. Now, why is this quote-unquote Save Chick-Fil-A bill even here in the first place? Well, a lot of critics and people in the LGBTQ community believe that Chick-fil-A is anti-LGBTQ because they do have a track record for donating money to Christian organizations that oppose same-sex marriage and other LGBTQ rights, okay? Now, I didn't necessarily believe this at first, but I did do a little bit of research. Apparently, this is actually true. They have donated money to organizations that are against same-sex marriage, so that's not necessarily being made up. I mean, you just don't really know in the modern era, let's be honest. I mean, people say all kinds of different things about basically everybody. You know, you gotta research these things, okay? And so I did. I checked like Snopes and other places, and I mean, I checked the sources. It seems to all line up. I mean, Chick-fil-A did apparently do this. Obviously, this bill is already getting a lot of different negative reactions from LGBTQ rights groups and advocate groups and public figures and whatnot. So at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know if any of that's really going to affect the status of the bill. I wouldn't necessarily say that the Texas Senate cares all too much about these groups that I don't even think really are in Texas in the first place. I think most of these groups speaking out about it are pretty much just reside in other places. So there's been kind of this track record really of people opposing Chick-fil-A for what they claim are just their religious views because it's a Christian organization. They donate to Christian organizations and charities. But yeah, that's basically the rundown on why this whole thing has happened if you are unaware. Now, let's go ahead and have this discussion. Now, let's just be really clear here. I believe everyone should have the right to do pretty much whatever they want with their business. I think, honestly, if they want to donate to these organizations, they should be allowed to, okay? And people should, if they don't like it or they don't agree with their religious views or they don't agree with the organizations that they've chose that they necessarily disagree with, then just simply don't go there and buy anything, you know? If you don't agree with Chick-fil-A's politics, which I don't necessarily agree with their politics either, but then don't go there if it really kind of affects you that much and you think that it's really that bad. Because the best way really to change a business's mind when it comes down to these kinds of things, if you really want them to stop doing what they're doing, giving them money only, I guess, incentivizes them. So if you think this is really as big of a deal as it is, and you don't give them money, that's saying 10 times, thousands of times more than just going on Twitter and writing about how much you hate Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. Now, a lot of these advocacy groups and students on college campuses have kind of been doing this because airports, college campuses, other public areas have been removing or outright banning Chick-fil-A restaurants from being on their property. There's been a couple universities that have very notably banned Chick-fil-A, or the student body has voted against allowing Chick-fil-A to operate on the university. I think that that's fine. You know, I think that's 100% acceptable. If you don't agree with their politics, you should definitely have the right to, if you say own an airport, okay, you should have the right to say, hey, I don't agree with their politics, I don't want a Chick-fil-A here. But at the same time, if you're gonna have it that way, Chick-fil-A should have the right to be able to do whatever they want as well. People should be allowed, regardless of how bad it is, you know, to express their rights to freedom, you know? Chick-fil-A has their right to freedom. I mean, they have the freedom of speech, they have freedom of religion. These are things already in the Constitution, so I don't really understand why this bill's even really here in the first place. I mean, the government already isn't allowed to take adverse action on individuals or businesses based on their religious beliefs. I mean, literally, to quote the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble, or to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I mean, these are all rights that are in literally the First Amendment of our Constitution and of our Bill of Rights. And the government isn't even the group that's going after Chick-fil-A. The United States government isn't banning Chick-fil-A because apparently they don't like gay people, you know, and because it's a Christian organization. It's the gay people and the LGBT groups that are against them. Okay, so this whole thing doesn't even make sense. Like, the government doesn't run these well, I mean, kinda, but they're not the ones making these decisions. They don't run these airports and these malls and stuff that Chick-fil-A's are getting banned out of. It's the students themselves. Chick-fil-A doesn't have a government problem. They have a consumer problem when it comes down to this. I mean, the market will always work itself out in a capitalist society if you just allow everyone to have that free will, pretty much. I mean, if you allow consumers to basically vote with their wallets based on whether or not they agree with the policies and politics of Chick-fil-A, and you allow Chick-fil-A to do whatever they want when it comes to their religion and what they believe in and stuff, if people really have that big of a problem with Chick-fil-A donating to these groups and whatnot, Chick-fil-A will be losing a lot of customers very quickly. Now, apparently, you know, a society that's actually pretty accepting of LGBTQ people now. I mean, just in May of 2018, barely a year ago, almost 70% of Americans approved of same-sex marriage. Honestly, I think that that's pretty low compared to what it should be, because I don't see a big deal with the whole thing, but people have their right to believe whatever they want, you know? If they want to be ignorant and uneducated on topics and stuff, you kind of have to let them, okay? But 70% of Americans are fine with LGBT couples getting married, okay? 7 out of 10 consumers on average in the US are on the LGBTQ side here. If people really cared this much, Chick-fil-A would be out of business, okay? Trust me. If you can't market to 70% of the population as one of the biggest fast food chains in the country, your spot as one of the biggest fast food chains in the country will very quickly diminish. So just to clear that whole thing up, okay, I completely support the, you know, right to religion that Chick-fil-A has. I don't agree with their politics or anything. I don't agree with donating to these groups and being anti-same-sex marriage and whatnot, which is why I also think that these college students who are banning these Chick-fil-A's on their campus by vote are completely in the right. And I think that that's the problem here in our country. There's this discord, there's this discord, I don't know why I thought that word just came to mind, but yeah, there's literally this public discord on this issue, because people on the right seem to mostly, at least from my personal experience, I shouldn't generalize, but people on the right seem to think that Chick-fil-A should have the right to believe only what they want and everything, right? But all these people and consumers who, you know, put money in these college campuses and who have the popular vote here shouldn't be banning these places, or that airports should be allowed to ban these places. But then on the left, you have these people who think they should be allowed to shut everything down that they don't like, and that Chick-fil-A shouldn't be allowed to express themselves. That's I mean, it's an extreme generalization, I know. but I mean, that's just what I've seen personally. And that's not right on either side, okay? Both sides should be allowed to express whatever they want and deal with this whole thing in whichever way that they want, and you just let it work itself out, man. With that being said, okay, I don't understand why this bill's called the Save Chick-Fil-A bill, as if this company is like falling down or something. Chick-Fil-A is one of the most popular fast food chains in the country. It's still extremely popular despite this controversy going on since I was in middle school. Chick-fil-A is not hurting, okay? Just because they've had 30 locations or whatever taken away across the country because of this, they're not hurting that badly, trust me. This bill just seems to kind of rehash almost what protections people already have while just slapping some company's name on it just for the sake of it. And I don't agree with that. I think that that's not only very disingenuous to the cause, but it's also very misleading and deceptive to people who believe that this is becoming such a big issue that this restaurant's gonna collapse, okay? That's not cool, okay? You're using fear tactics almost in reality. And the last thing I want to say here is I understand that people are mad about this whole, them donating to these groups and whatnot. I understand that completely. However, people kind of just jump on board with this whole thing and treat it like it's a much bigger issue than it really is. I mean, it's definitely something to be concerned about, and it's something that people should really try to get Chick-fil-A to stop doing, because obviously people don't agree with it. However, I just wish people had this same amount of outrage at companies that are doing literally worse things, okay? The big example here I want to bring up of a company that's doing worse things is Nestle, okay? Chick-fil-A is donating to anti-LGBTQ companies. Okay, well, guess what Nestle's doing? I'm gonna list off a couple things that Nestle, the people behind like Nesquik, they're one of the biggest food and beverage brands on planet Earth. They make all that bottled water and whatnot. Okay, one thing that they do that's way worse than advocating against LGBT rights in a country that has already basically accepted LGBT rights is heavily promoting infant formula in developing countries in like Africa, even though it's been scientifically proven to be less safe than breastfeeding, okay? They do that very heavily in countries in Africa, so they can literally just sell this baby and infant formula to these parents who are having children at a very high rate, may I add, surely for profit, even though they know that scientifically they're putting these people at risk, okay? And they might not be giving these children the right nutrients that they need, but they don't care because they're making money, right? And another thing is that they're obviously a very big global leader in bottled water, okay? They throw money, ridiculous amounts of money at the public to get them behind this idea of buying bottled water, because I mean, let's be honest, I drink bottled water, but I mean, once it gets it travels around in those trucks, the temperatures get high, the plastic melts, and it literally will pollute the water. But there's a lot of different issues with that, okay? And another thing that they do is they tap water supplies to the detriment of local ecosystems and communities. So they're putting all these habitats for all these animals and stuff at risk so they can filter the water and sell it to people at a huge profit, because it doesn't cost shit to bottle water. It really doesn't, okay? But they're making a stupid amount of money on it. And on top of that, California has been in drought for what, 9 years or something like that right now? They're literally emptying lakes and rivers in California and tapping up water that could be going to the public, even though they've had mandated 10-minute showers and stuff in the past. They're tapping up all this water to sell. And then on top of that, they have a horrible record when it comes to commodities like cocoa for Nesquik and stuff, where they literally still have child labor and slavery in a lot of those areas in Central and Southern America, down there where cocoa is grown and stuff. They have children slaved away out here on these cocoa farms and stuff. Nestle doesn't care. They don't do anything to stop any of that. And they continue to, they supply their cocoa from these places, when there's other areas they could go, or they have plenty of money to incentivize this stuff to stop happening, and they don't care because it's cheap labor, cheap product. They make a shit ton of money. They have a horrible track record on actually sustaining ingredient sourcing, from like palm oil to coffee. There's all kinds of different things. They do a lot of very horrible things that actually really, really degrade people in third world countries and areas in need, and they don't care. They do it for profit. And you don't see a banned Nestle water from all Walmarts and stores and stuff like that happening. You don't see all this public outrage about that because people don't give a shit, It's people in third world countries, right? Their children are being slaved away. But hey, you know what? The LGBTQ people, who have had literally have had the public opinion in their favor and have had, you know, all the support over the last decade or so. One fast food restaurant donates to charities that don't like them, so that's got to be a bigger issue, right? Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, you guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel. Follow me over on Twitter at Optimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of all my newest content. The guy next door is mowing very loudly. If you can hear that, I do apologize for it. I'm getting sick of hearing it myself, but join the Discord down below. Lots of great things going on down there as well. Thank you to my channel members for your $5 a month. Your support helps my channel tremendously. If you'd like to help support my content, you can do so by hitting the join button down below or the become a channel member link in the description. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Still eating at Chick-Fil-A because honestly, it doesn't mean that much to me. I just like the food. And signing out.